Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about that sort of, sometimes people think it's unfortunate, but that part in your career where it's time to resign for a role. This isn't something that's always a negative thing, right? Sometimes better opportunities come along. Sometimes it's just time. You're ready to work with new and better, presumably better technologies, and it's time to move on to the next facet. So how do we do that professionally? What are some things that we need to make sure we do so that there is potentially a bridge that hasn't been burned? So we're going to be talking a little bit about how to resign from a role, and we're also going to be talking about how to write a proper resignation letter, and I'll provide a template for you to go off of I've had to resign from the last 3 roles I've been in as my salary has grown or as my opportunities have grown and become greater than the current role that I'm in. And I'd like to think that for the most part I've left on good terms and professionally. So we're going to try to get you to, if you hit that phase in your life, understand how to resign properly, how to write a nice resignation letter, and hopefully have some sort of bridge that you didn't burn along the way. So the first and foremost thing I would say that probably everyone already knows, or I think you would know, is give 2 weeks. Sometimes people will give more than 2 weeks. I've given up to 3.5 weeks notice, and that's because I felt like my employer would respect the amount of effort and energy that I've put into the position, wouldn't just cut me. But the reason I would advise against that, and I probably won't ever do it again unless it's some sort of personal relationship or I'm working with a friend of mine, is there are plenty of companies who you've given 2 weeks, and this happens to developers. I've talked with several of my colleagues over the years about this subject, and they've had actual companies tell them not to come in anymore. And not like, don't come in anymore, because we're going to pay you the next 2 weeks. Like, nah, you're just done. Whatever paycheck you had, you're getting, and that's it. And so you have to be prepared for that mentally and financially, right? A lot of people, unfortunately, live paycheck to paycheck, and that includes a lot of developers. So hopefully you're not one of those developers, but either way, hopefully you have a little bit of money in the bank if that does happen, if you do get cut. And so you're saying, well, Dylan, why would I give 2 weeks and I don't ever plan on going back to this employer? Well, you want to leave on good terms, right? You want to be a professional, and you don't go tick for tack. And you don't know how they're going to react. So give your 2 weeks, right? Because you're going to have maybe a letter recommendation from your boss, maybe just a phone recommendation, or you're putting them down as a reference. Maybe you need to reach out to HR to get some paperwork for a home loan or a tax papers, whatever it is. You want to leave on good terms, and you never know what may happen down the road. It may happen that startup you went to a year and a half later, oh man, they ran out of funding, or that business, they're downsizing, they're cutting their losses, and they're moving on. So you want to leave on good terms, just because you're a professional, but because also you may one day have to come back. I've worked with plenty of developers who have left a job, decided the place they were at a year and a half later was a much worse organization, and then went back to the other job and put in another 2-3 years before jumping along. Sorry, I had to let my cat out of the office. So but yeah, you want to leave on good terms, but you also want to protect yourself from being in an awful position. You give someone 6 weeks notice, you're not missing 1 paycheck, 2 paychecks, 3 paychecks, and before you know, you're in a horrible position. So if you do something like that, just be aware. But sort of 2 weeks is the standard. 10 working days, that's what defines 2 weeks. Sometimes people are like, 2 weeks, I got a week of PTO coming up, followed up by another week of PTO. Like, no, it's 10 working days to get there. So how do you resign, right? Well, it's pretty simple. You don't walk in and say, hey y'all, I quit, peace. No. So that's not what you want to do. What you want to do, you want to write a proper resignation letter, something that is clear on your intent, something that has dates, and something that can be tracked. So typically what I'll do is I'll print a physical copy, I'll sign it, I'll hand it to my manager, And this is I'll either leave it on his desk after I had sent an email or handed it to him personally, so that he doesn't have to print it out and can hand it off to the people that need to be. So let's go ahead and look at an example of a proper resignation letter, because I think it is honestly just as important. So I'll show you one of mine that I've somewhat modified here. So okay, so this is a example of a fairly basic resignation letter, and they should be basic. Honestly, it's probably a little bit on the long side compared to most people's resignations letters. So I will start out by having the date that I'm resigning, meaning that like the date I'm handing in my resignation paperwork. So you have your little header here, followed by name, the title, and my employer name. So honestly, you don't know who you're going to be handing it to, so I always start to whom. It sounds kind of weird, right? To whom it may concern. Like, look, bro, calm down. You ain't all that important. But it's just sort of a generic intro to a resignation letter, right? So, very first line every single time is I would like to inform you I am resigning from your title, front-end software engineer at the current company you're resigning from. My last day will be approximately 2 weeks from today, including last day. Everything they need to know is in that first sentence. Everything after this is sort of just, I don't want to use the term fluff, but niceties. It's, you just want to say nice things before you go out. And that's one thing I should bring up as well, is that sometimes people feel the need to go in their resignation letter and explain why they're leaving. That's it. Whether it's for money reasons, whether it's for because you hate your boss, whatever it may be. This is not the place for this. Hopefully, you've already had those conversations in person where, you've had a conversation, say, hey, I have other opportunities. Would you be willing to match them? And they say no. You say, okay, cool. And then 20 minutes later, you come back with your resignation letter. Or you've had issues and you've been in constant communication with the business and your manager about how you're going to handle those issues. So that's something that you can do as well, but this is not the place for it, is my main point. So after that, I typically have a sentence or two just sort of saying nice things. I have appreciated my time here. Group of developers I've learned so much from are amongst the best I've worked with. I'm happy to not only call them my colleagues, but friends as well. Couldn't be prouder of my work at the company dev team. Growth I've achieved being a member of the company dev team, of the company. That's really what I meant, dev department. But here it's very clear, it's nice, it doesn't need to go into anything, and then of course your name, and then print it out, sign it. So this is what I would send to my manager, sometimes to the head of HR, whoever it may be, of the organization. It explains that I'm no longer going to be working or resigning. That's all it needs to do. And then over the next 2 weeks, let's talk a little bit about that, because you have a couple different people, a couple different mindsets. So over the next 2 weeks, as a developer, you're going to be finishing up your tickets, probably not picking up any work, but I want to talk a little bit more generally about it than as a developer. But your goal should be any knowledge transfer, anything you're like, yo, you know what, I need to hand this off to somebody and they have no idea how it's going to work. Maybe training a replacement, but your job to leave on good terms is to be a professional, and a professional makes sure that the last 2 weeks are 2 weeks that you work, not 2 weeks that you phone it in, not 2 weeks you're showing up late, not 2 weeks you're leaving early. It's 2 weeks that you're working, whether you're leaving on good terms or bad terms. You are showing up, you're putting in your time, and you're going to say, look, maybe you both are happy, business and employee, and you're leaving because better opportunities. Or maybe you're on the side where you're unhappy, but the business doesn't care. You can at least leave with your head held high that you were a professional. So keep that in mind when you're resigning, and just be a professional, and keep it moving forward. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If there's any other CareerScript type videos, I like that name, CareerScript. Just throw script on anything, and that'll just be my new series names. Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and hit that notification bell. See you guys next time. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to check out my 100 Algorithm Challenge course. Get you prepped for those technical interviews to make sure you get nice offers. I actually just added some new content to it so you can get prepared for those technical phone screens as well. There's a link in the description to get it for just $9.99.